Hello YouTube, this is JP963 here.
Hello everybody. I'd just like to do a little update on my hatchet, and I ended up making a new handle. I just wasn't happy with the way, see if you notice the way I made the head. The direction of the hatchet was like this, and this in through here just felt uncomfortable. I mean, I liked the handle, and it was a really pretty wood, really pretty grain, but it just wasn't comfortable. So I made a new and improved handle. This one's made of cedar, and this one is a piece of walnut. And you'll notice, put that so they measure up about the same. I made the handle a little bit longer, and I made the contour just a little different. That way you get a good swing. And I got, let's see here, I got this cleaned up a bit. It didn't clean up too awful bad compared to the type of shape that it was in before.
Here's a little better angle at the hatchet head. I'm going to try to work that edge down a little bit. There you have it. A new handle on an old head.
And I had a comment on my last video when I made the hatchet handle, or when I made this one, wanting to know how I kept the head on. This one here, I chose to, I don't know if you can see it, I slotted out the end, and I drove a cedar wedge down in there. And again, I just sanded this down after working it down with files, and I sanded it down with sandpaper. And I took some vegetable oil and just coated it a couple times, let it soak into the wood. That'll help waterproof it and make it last a little bit longer. And on the end of for my lanyard, I took 25 feet of 550 paracord, and I braided and tied it onto the handle. Anyways, I just thought I'd put a quick video and show you a little update on my hatchet. I had to make a new handle, but this one is a lot more comfortable. And this right here will probably be recycled. I'll turn it around this direction so it fits better. See, it was going the wrong way. That was my mistake. But it worked out for the better because I like this handle a whole lot better. And it's a stronger wood. But this will be recycled as another project for another tool. Just real quick, I figured I'd share some of my other knives that I've made. First off, this right here, I think I made this when I was like 15 years old. I've had this thing for 17 years now, going on 18 years, and it's been a pretty good knife. I handmade the sheath out of old leather purse. And this is a deer antler, and yes, it is full tang construction. I took and drilled the handle out, the middle of the handle, and on the very end of the blade I ground it down and thread it, and then I drilled and tapped this so this screws on good and tight and pulls this all together. But this is it used to be a double-edged bayonet blade. I took and ground this all down and took a chainsaw file and filed all these teeth in here so you get a good edge where you can put some pressure on it. And these right here were square blocks of brass. I cut these out and ground them down and filed them. Same thing with this. This is a square brass block here too. But like I said, I made this a long time ago. When I was like 15 years old. This is the first knife that I ever made. And it's a good high carbon steel. And next up is this right here. This was actually found in the back of an old truck, and it was just all solid glob of rust. It looked worse than, if you've seen my other video on my hatchet, it looked a whole lot worse than this. But I ground this all down. That's what I like about it, is it's got an extremely thick blade. I mean, this thing is heavy duty. It's got some weight to it. And I'm not sure, but this is, I think, is like a 6.5 or 7-inch blade. And this was actual deer antler, but it was all broke and split and cracked. And I took and ground it all down, pulled these plates off, and put some new pins in it. Then I took and sanded it all down, and then took some JB weld and JB welded the ends, the bottom and the top. And then I took and after it hardened, I took and filed it and then sanded it till it was just solid smooth all the way around. This is like I said, this is a pretty old knife, and it's a good high carbon steel. You don't just run across blades like this every day. That's a good steel. And I made this this sheath for this also. And this is the burlap sewing needle. If you were out in the wilderness and you were having to make your own clothing out of deer hides or rabbit furs and stuff like that, this right here would be really handy in stitching your clothes together. And I think this right here is a 10-inch needle, and I found this also. It was all rusty. It looks like it was homemade. But I have this in here. This is just another survival knife kit that I put together, and I took and put little wire eyelets and tied a whole knife case to the side. And if you watch some of my other videos where I use this knife with my magnesium fire starter. Now this is a sharpening stone. This is made for sharpening serrated edges. The round for the big grooves, and the small for the small grooves on the serrated edges. but I've used this for years. And of course, the old trusty magnesium fire starter. So I carry these little 3 items in here. And one type of knife that I'd like to recommend, if you ever run across these right here, these are very nice to have. And I do a lot of carving and stuff with this knife. What's unique about this is it only sharpens on one side of the blade. This side stays flat. When you sharpen it, you just sharpen this edge, one side, and then you lay it flat and then smooth it out on the bottom. But it comes real handy, like say if you're carving and you're trying to get corners. Yes, I know I'm making a mess. I'll have to clean up, but I'm trying to get. It's real handy for getting in grooves, making grooves, and. But I highly recommend, if you ever run across a knife like this, if you get into doing any type of carving and stuff like that, these knives work great. This one is actually a Victronics. I think it's a rust free. Yeah, it's a rust free. It's a cheap camera. I don't think it's going to show it. Anyways, I've had this for years. A very handy knife to have. So if y'all ever get a chance, I highly recommend it. Thank you for watching. Y'all have a good rest of the evening.